Hello everyone, welcome to another video with me. I'm jumping right in today, so jumping right in. We're sewing things for the holidays for our friends and family, and I have another, not for beginner, but easy enough for a beginner. Another project for you, okay? We're making slippers today, that's right. So the information, the link is below. You know what you have to do. We're just gonna get started. I'm going to grab these pieces. I have flannel. The idea is with the slippers that I wanted a soft touch on the slippers. And so the part that I put my foot on, I want it to be, soft and cushy. You can use terry cloth, you can use fleece, you can use whatever you want to. By golly, you can use cotton if you want to, okay? This right here is the foam. They sell it as fusible foam as well, but it's regular foam. It's almost like insoles, similar to that you like they sell at the store. This is heavy duty felt. This is going to be the bottom of the slipper. And what's nice about it is you can use faux as your bottom, faux leather. I'll put the different options in the bottom. We won't waste time talking about it. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now, I'm actually just going to combine all of these, which they actually already are. They're resting on each other. And we're going to sew around the outsides after pinning. We're going to sew around. You know what? I'm not even going to pin. It's not going to shift. They're not moving. We're going to sew around the edges. I'm going to sew at 1/8 of an inch, but that was because of the way I did my measurements. You go ahead and you sew at 1/4 of an inch. Okay, we're not worried if a little bit is over because we're going to cover all of that up. So I'm not worried about that. All right. It's already like nice and squishy. Let's do the other one. Okay. Line these up. I think I will go ahead and pin this one only because they did a tiny bit start to shift. But for some reason, okay, let me see. Okay, it's not that thick. If you need to put on your walking foot on your machine, go ahead. As you can see, I'm still using my presser foot. Okay, removing those pins. Okay, I'm gonna set these to the side, nice and squishy. Get those arched pieces of fabric. We're going to adhere the fusible fleece onto the patterns, onto the right side of the pattern. No, the wrong side of the arch. Going to put that to the side so I can grab the other one. I want to make sure I don't have a straggly because that will be noticeable. Okay. So this is the part that's going to lay across the arch of your foot. So the reason I put the fusible fleece is so that it's a little comfy underneath, and it's not hard and irritating. So, you know, so it's not irritable. Okay. So what we want to do at this point is put pretty side of the fabric to pretty side of your layer, of your underlayer. Okay. And we are going to grab some pins. Let's pin these. We're going to be sewing across the arch and then across this straight edge all the way over. Okay. And I'm sewing at 1/8 of an inch. You show your back stitch. Go ahead and do the same thing to the other side, the other arch. Okay, I'm putting pretty side to pretty side. Let me slide this down a bit. I'm gonna reposition these. Okay. I'm going to just start off with my top. If I was doing a really wide curve, I would snip the pieces, the curves. But because, well, if I was doing a curve that was not as wide, because this curve is pretty wide, I didn't really have to snip inside of the seams, which is nice. Okay. Right now, just rolling those seams. Okay. To ensure that they're flat. I'll change that. All right, and now going to flatten this here. I'm just looking here because it came a little bit off, a little bit up. If you notice this, it's a little bit up off of the, from the seam. So I'm gonna iron this back so that it rolls backwards. Okay. So let's go ahead and top stitch. I see that, but I'm not worried about that right now. Let's go ahead and top stitch. We're going to top stitch across the top, and then we're going to top stitch around the curve at 1/8 of an inch. So I'm very close to the finished edge. And okay. I'm just taking care of that. Go ahead and do the same thing to your other foot, the first one we prepared. So we want to connect these onto the slipper, And I have already marked 3 inches down from the top where I'm going to put this to go across, because I just wanted to check the distance to make sure it was good. So so I'm looking here at the marks that I made. I'm going to pin these just for a moment while I also prepare the other slipper as well, because I might end up changing them. Just want to make sure that they end up in the right position so that they're even, obviously, on both feet, the left and the right. And we are not concerned with seam allowances here, so you want to pin it right up to the edge, okay, because we're going to be putting binding on, okay? So we're not concerned with having any overhang. We don't want overhang. This is going to be obviously the part where you put your foot in. Okay. All right, so now I just want to check this out for a moment. What I'm doing is just seeing how high, if I need to change anything. And no, that looks good. It looks exactly where I wanted it to be on the top. Okay. And I'm just going to, yep, it lines up because there's the mark that I put there. Okay, going to pin this here. And before I pin that bottom, I'm going to pin this one here. There's the mark here, 3 inches from the bottom, from the top, and that lines up. Okay. Let me grab a pin here. So at this point, we are obviously sewing through a few layers, but these are soft, squishy, nothing thick to be concerned about. Okay, so now at this point, I'm going to, look at this, if we put this together, okay, they're even. Good, I'm going to pin this. Ouch. I just stuck myself. Wow. That happened with the SpongeBob Band-Aid before. Okay, so what we want to do at this moment, we're going to pin along the edges. Not pin, I'm going to sew along the edges here. And because I'm going to sew through these layers as well as the slippers, I'm going to make sure I'm sewing on 3.0, but I'm going to increase my stitch distance. I'm going to put it at 0.5. Okay, I'll let you know if I change my length, my stitch length, in just a moment. Okay. Yeah, this is going in here pretty smooth. There's not even any issue with thickness right now. So, and I'm sewing on 3.0. So, no problem at all going underneath this foot. Just removing the second pin. Back stitching. Everybody should know that they should be back stitching at this point. I know that we do a lot of beginner videos, well, beginner to intermediate, but at this point you should know to back stitch everything. And now I'm going to do the same thing right along this side. Okay, removing this for right now. The reason we don't want to have the overhang is because we're going to add binding on the edges to cover up all of these raw edges. So we don't want anything overhanging because we're going to have material that overhangs, that goes around. And you can just go ahead and we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So this is how it's looking right now. I'm going to go ahead and get the other portion to get the other side. Okay. Okay. All right, so now at this point, we need to prepare our binding for what's going around the edges. Okay, so go ahead, we can put these to the side. Put these to the side for right now. Grab the long strips that you have. Okay, and what we want to do for right now, let's fold these inward. Fold these so that the raw edges will touch each other. Just going to scoot this down. If you have a bias machine, I mean, if you have a the bias foot kit, I'll show you what it looks like, because if you start sewing, you might actually really want to get into this. I'm not going to use it now just in case you don't have it, but if you don't have one of these, you might want to get one of these if you, you know, if you're going to start doing like quilting. It will save you a lot of time and you'll love it. So, but for right now, I'm going to prepare the binding the normal way. All right. Do the same thing to the other one. So these strips are 2 inches by 30 inches. And what I did was I used the selvages, and I love when I can use selvages for something, because you don't see the white part of the selvage on this part, but look at here, we know it's there. And I don't like to just cut them and get rid of them, because they can be good for something. And that's what's happening. So I'm using, I usually end up with about 4 inches from projects that I make along the entire length of the fabric. But you can turn those into scrunchies, you can turn them into chapstick holders. Just don't throw them away. Your salvages. Okay, you can do a lot of things with them. if you thought about what you use for a bag, the width. Okay, so what we want to do at this point, we are going to, we're starting at the back part of the heel. And what we want to do is we want to put the raw edge with the raw edge of the fabric, okay? And then what we're going to be doing is along the entire, so I have 30 inches, but it's going to be a little bit over, okay? Better to be longer than too short. So I'll just show you, I'm gonna pin this right here just to show you something, okay? We want to line up these raw edges so that they meet each other the entire way around the slipper, okay? The entire way around. And when we get back up here to this point, we're going to overlap a little bit, and I'll show you when we get to that part, okay? I am not going to pin all around this slipper, but you go ahead if you need to pin all the way around, okay? All right, and then we'll get ready for the next part, okay? All right, I'm gonna start sewing. And I'm going to sew at 1/4 of an inch. Now, when you get to your heel, the rounded areas, what you can do is, look at this, it's going to fold a tiny bit, okay? That's what you want to do. You want it to fold in a tiny bit, okay? You see it right here? It's just, that's all. It's just folded in. Okay. Removing this. Here's my binding here, and I'm just leaving it right in front of me. My raw edges are lined up. You can see it right underneath here, you see? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just backstitch and overlap it a tiny bit and then cut it. So if you plan on making these, you can actually do, you know, see, this is the extra portion right here. So that's about 2 inches. Let me get my scissors. All right, I'm clipping that right there. Now what we want to do is we want to, I'm going to fold this in, and I'm going to force this, not force it, but I'm going to make it go right underneath the curve. See this? We're going to have it go right underneath. Okay. And what we're going to do, you see underneath, once we make this go underneath, look at how it's going to hide. Okay, so we gotta cut I gotta cut my stragglies, but it's going to hide the stitching that's underneath our slipper here, okay, for the under part. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're starting off at the back. All right, and positioning it. if you know what stitch in the ditch is, that's what we're going to do right here. We're going to sew right into the ditch around this entire way. Okay, if for some reason you have a wide, if you sew too wide with your seam allowance, be sure to cut off some portions of it around where you think it's pretty wide around the seam, because you want to be able to fold this and not see your stitching line once you do fold this. Okay, so we're gonna fold all the way around. We're going right into the ditch. Okay, and the entire way around, all you're doing is folding under, you're folding under that binding. I mean, that looks good. Okay, all right, let's go to the next one. Those colors look nice together. Mixing. Okay, oh, straggly. I'm gonna cut this off. So, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and grab this one here. So if you have any stragglies, or if you like I said, if you have a really wide seam here, so go ahead and, you know, just make sure you cut it, you know, thin it out if things have shifted. Okay, it's normal, but we want to make sure that we can get around it and have enough to tuck under. But if the reason that the binding is 2 inches wide is because if you made it 3 inches, this portion here, this would be wider, fatter, and you don't want it to be that big, you know, on a slipper. Okay, so once again, we're going to go with the back of the slipper here, and we're going to do the same thing. Pin it if you need to. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to tuck it under the same way we did this one here. I just realized I didn't fold this one first. Should have folded it before starting it, but I'm going to go ahead, and it doesn't really matter because you don't see it. I'm going to tuck it under, and do the same thing that we did already. Okay, we're going to prepare it so that the entire way around we get this to hide, that we get it to hide our stitching that's there. Okay, all the way around. What's really cool is that then you just toss this in the washer. So, all right, I'll remove all my stragglies when I'm done. All right, so going all the way around. If you have followed those steps, then you will have a pretty fancy pair of slippers that you can actually customize for someone. That's about it for this video. The whole idea was that, I mean, you can also make the ones that go over the toe, where you cover the whole toe, but the idea is to have something, that's comfortable for the gentleman to wear as well. And these seem to be versatile. So, and good for, male and female. All right, so if you have any questions, go ahead, put them down below, and I will try to answer them. So, otherwise, go make some cool slippers. Okay? All right, I'll see you back here for the next video. Okay? Bye, guys.